Witam serdecznie. Hello to everyone. We will start in seconds, or actually right now it's already 11, so we can start. So welcome to this Labyrinth presentation about new version 2.1. I'm here together with Anastasia, and we will present to you our solution in the latest version with all of the important new features and new improvements that have been added to latest release of Labyrinth Deception platform. So the agenda for today, I will shortly explain our development cycle. I will speak about improvements, new integrations, and the key element of our new platform, the new feature called the SEEKER. So in case you will have any questions, we don't add any Q&A session today, so please contact us at info@labyrinth.tech. Then we will be able to answer all of your questions, or if needed, to create or perform a dedicated session for you. So let's start. As you know, the whole deception thing is about planning and making proper traps for the attackers. We are almost at the Christmas time, and everybody probably will watch the Kevin Alone again. So I will start with a basic reference to what we do so far and what is our architecture for the solution itself. Of course, the main goal is to make the attackers cry. So whenever we develop new features or new products, you need to know a bit about our development cycle. So as for now, our yearly development cycle for the 12 months is represented by 2 editions. So 2 editions of the product we publish every year. The first edition within the year, we call it a spring edition, and it's fully focusing on improving our deception capabilities. And we also provide the autumn edition, which is focusing on innovation, on new features that are extending the capabilities of network monitoring and intrusion detection system based on deception. Our strategy for developing the product, we call it 80-20, which means basically that 80% of the feature requests that we implement in the new feature, either spring or autumn edition, are coming from our partners or customers. So 80% of our roadmap is based on the feedback we receive from the market. I think it's very important. It's very important for us. The rest of the stuff, the 20%, it's something what we want to add based on our vision and our innovative approach for the solution. So as for now, with version 2.1, we are in the autumn edition, and the main innovative part of this edition is the SEEKER. So when we speak about the improvements, if we speak about the numbers, if we look at the numbers from our R&D team, that edition involved 224 tasks for the development team. Major new improvements, it's about 8, 71 minor improvements, and 45 bug fixes that we added to this release. If you remember, for those who are more familiar with the product, it will be something that you already know. Nothing changed here. The architecture is very basic, with minimum 2 appliances, admin VM for the central management and worker VM for deploying the points. Points, which in our dictionary is the same stuff like decoys or honeypots, but of course connected with one honeynet network and with one deception logic that is provided together with Labyrinth platform. Then we have the optional CEDAR agent. And now when we look at the improvements, so first of all, what is very important is the performance requirements. So these are current minimum requirements for both appliances, for the admin VM and worker VM. So for management, as you can see, We require 4 CPUs, 16 gig of RAM, and storage of 100 gigabytes. I just remind you that on admin VM, you can define tenants. So if you are a SOC operator on an MSSP, you can build very nicely and very easily service for the deception. For worker VM, where we start the decoys and the points, requirements are a bit higher. But comparing to the previous edition, the requirements on admin VM dropped by 50%. Why I talk about these requirements and what actually it means that we require, let's say, 16 gig of RAM. What does it mean? Because it's just a requirement for the appliance. But if we look at where we are with the deception platform, it's about making a trick. It's about fooling the attackers within the infrastructure where deception is deployed. So when we speak about these requirements, that means that with minimum requirements, you can deploy 155 instances of our universal web point on single worker VM. That means that you can emulate 130 SSH points at the same time. And that means that at the same time, you could possibly make a strategy of emulating 155 PostgreSQL instances. So as you can see, with these minimum requirements, it's a lot of noise that you can add to your network, to the segment. Noise and the fake element, which will attract the attacker to play with these fake systems. These numbers are just examples for these three specific point types, but that gives you information how scalable the product is. So when we go to the next slide, and you know how it goes, we have production environment, we have switches, routers, servers, databases, and on the top, we will add the fake systems, okay? So with these requirements, the number or the probability of touching our systems, I don't talk yet about how do we lure the attackers into the system, but it shows you how big potential number of fake decoys with minimum requirements can be provided. For those who are for the first time on our webinar, I would like to remind you all the types of the points we have today. We have points, as you know, for IT, for OT, and of course, we are working on adding new point types to our releases. If you remember my first slide, Spring Edition is focusing on improvements in the deception part. So in Spring Edition of 2025, we will add some new point types. Most of them will be IT point types, but we are constantly developing the new traps added to the whole logic of our deception platform. Next, when we speak about new integrations, this edition we added Proxmox hypervisor support. It was requested by several of our partners and customers as well. We noticed on the market that a lot of end users are switching to the Proxmox hypervisor platform. So for us, it was key to add this to our roadmap and to our supported list of hypervisors. Next, based again on from our partners, we received a request to integrate Trellix platform or Trellix EPO. So for the response part, when we detect something, we can interact now with Trellix EPO. This request, just for your interest, came from Poland and from Czech Republic. So thank you for that. As always, we do this kind of integrations free of charge with minimum requirement from the partner that we get the use case description and we get all of the technical details about requirements for the integration. So for instance, how to trigger the API call. And of course, would be great if we can have as well access to a lab where we can test and develop the integration. Another requirement that came from our partners was to add extension of our Microsoft Teams support. And this one is about supporting Microsoft Teams workflow. So as for today, with 2.1, a small reminder with these logos that we also support VMware and Hyper-V, but on the top we have as well Proxmox, which I think allows us to have quite wide support for virtualization. Now, what is also new is that we are moving from our documentation in PDF format. So we introduced in last weeks our knowledge base. Some of our partners already have access to it, already provided also some feedback to us, so we are improving. And the reason was quite obvious. It's much easier for us to maintain knowledge base than refreshing and publishing each time the new PDF with our manual. In that knowledge base, you will find the description of each release note. You will find also full documentation, including deployment guide, including product manual. We are also working, and that's the plan for 2025. We are also working on some online trainings. So basically, the knowledge base will become more like a customer portal or partner portal for the whole platform. So if you are interested to get access to this knowledge base, please contact support@labyrinth.tech. The access is possible for our customers and authorized partners. And there you will be able to learn yourself and read about our product, of course, in the technical aspects. So now I'd like to speak about the SEEKER, the new feature of our platform. The feature is included in the subscription license, so it's not related to any extra cost. So for all of you who have a valid subscription service for Labyrinth Deception Platform, you just need to upgrade to version 2.1 to benefit from SEEKER, and of course request access to knowledge base where you will find the documentation. So what is SEEKER? SEEKER is, we can say, and we call it that way just to qualify it in some market, let's say, category. It's attack vector validation. So we want to provide a tool, simple tool, that allows you to test your current security solutions, to test, evaluate the effectiveness of your tools that are already deployed. So for example, you can configure or you can add a specific, what we call scenario, and Anastasia will soon explain that in details, that it's verifying or validating the current setup, for instance, of configuration of EDR or next generation firewall. We see, and that was also coming from several partners, that in many cases the products are deployed with some initial configuration, then there are some changes, and it would be great if something can verify if for critical aspects based on compliance or based on internal strategy, that those configurations are applied and they are working. So we will have a demo today about that part because SEEKER is very important for us in context of this release. So we can also inspect, so not test, but inspect if, for example, some misconfigurations have been done within the network. Let's imagine, or let's provide a simple example of providing a test scenario which is evaluating if all the ports on switches, routers that should be closed for security reasons, for compliance reasons, are really closed. And you would like to constantly evaluate that, I don't know, based on schedule every day, every once per month, once per day, depending, of course, on your requirements. And the last part, which came after a first alpha edition of SEEKER, we are sharing alpha versions with our partners and customers. And one of the customers required or provide us an interesting use case that when a customer is using a security operations center, SOC services, usually through the contract, they are allowed to validate if the SOC is responding in the time that was agreed in the contract. So they are allowed to perform tests. You can test for free or without extra cost if the SOC is reacting properly or quickly enough during the given period, like during the month. So this kind of tool with its extensions will also allow to perform some checks and see how the external company with this kind of service will react. So Seeker, the value proposition is security control validation, security policies validations, and SOC team efficiency validation. So that's how we see the attack vector validation tool included now in our deception platform for no extra cost. It's a first edition. Okay, so we also have already a list of new features that are part of our roadmap for next year. And we are also looking for your feedback regarding the platform and regarding that particular feature, so we can drive it together and improve it in next releases. So now, time for me to switch to Anastasia, who will present to you the concept of Seeker in more details, and as well, we will demonstrate with live demo and real use cases on how to benefit from the Seeker. I will stop sharing my screen right now. Anastasia, if you are ready, you can start sharing your screen.
Yeah, sure. Give me just a second. And I hope you can see it. At least
Yes.
Zoom tells me that you can.
Correct. We see your screen right now.
Thank you. So, hello, everyone. So today I will do the demo part of our webinar, and I will tell you more about how Seeker works. So in general, as it was mentioned earlier, Seeker is attack vector validation module, and all you need to run it is already included in the platform. And it works this way, that we create scenarios that will include some actions, some steps that will be performed. And then based on the scenario, you create a simulation. In simulation, you define some additional parameters, you define also scheduling and etc. But we will see it in action as well. Okay, so as I said earlier, all you need to do is run the Seeker you have already in your platform. And if you remember our general architecture slide, this part where we have Cedar proxy, exactly Cedar proxy currently is doing the whole job. So in general, for working with Seeker, we need Seeker agents, and now they are part of Cedar proxy. We are planning on making them a separate entity, and it will be available in one of our future releases. This is how it works. So Seeker agent provides us with a number of tooling that can be used to actually run our scenario. But to make it more interactive, more interesting, I suggest that we proceed to our stand and to our live demo. So I will be using our labyrinth stand as usual. I will go and create some scenarios. So we will cover a couple of cases. Some of the cases we will configure live. Some of the cases I will simply explain so that you get a basic idea of the examples that can be accomplished using Seeker. And our first case will be checking for usage of default credentials. So we all know that having some default credentials like admin can possess some dangers to your network, to say so. And for this, we will do a check. I will first add some payloads. So payloads, those are files that will be used for accomplishing scenarios. I have some of those. All I need to do is to click on this plus sign, choose file. You see that I have some of those. I will use word lists with default usernames that I don't want to be present in my environment, and the same for passwords. So in payloads, you can upload not only word lists, but also binaries. For example, you can upload them on a host and see if it works. One of the examples is RCE, so plenty of the examples. Okay, so here it is. And we are good to go with payloads, and we proceed to scenarios. To create scenario, we just go to dedicated tab, click on plus sign, and we have a form. First thing first that we will do is to create a name. Oh, my bad. Check for the usage of default credentials. Then we can add description, and the core part of the scenario is actions. So actions, one action is one step that will be performed in the scenario. And you can see, I'm sorry, you can see a list of available actions right from here. We present you with actions for plenty of different, I would say, sectors. You see you can deal with FTP, SMB, etc. We have a lot for HTTP, and also they can be grouped by their dedication, by what they do. It's for recon, it's for attack, it's for brute forcing, and etc. So I will create my scenario, and I will start with a simple ping. I want to know if my host is even available. So from here, I can specify default target value. So it will be used if I don't specify anything else in simulation. I will leave it as it is, but I will provide number of requests. 3 will be good. Our next step will be port scan. I can type, and because I'm dealing with the SSH, I'm putting 22nd port. Notice that I'm not putting anything in target here as well, because the idea behind scenarios is that parameters from one action, they come to another action. And this way, we get this chain of reaction, and each action is connected to another one. I click on submit. Our next step will be actually trying to perform a brute force. Maybe I will do it this way. So brute force SSH. From here, I leave target as it is. Default port also will be overridden by our previous action. The rest we can remain as it is, and I specify word lists that we have provided earlier for usernames and for passwords. Click submit. And last but not least, I want also check if we find any of those credentials, if I will be able to perform any comments. I want to know what is the scope of permissions I will be having when gaining access to those credentials. So I will also search by SSH, and I will be executing commands via SSH. So from here, we'll leave target as it is. Username and passwords will be taken from our previous action, and command I will put simply ID. And as you can see, if you don't know what exactly you are supposed to put in any of those fields, you have this information panel, and it provides you with some additional information. So I click on submit, and here it is. So as simple as it can humanly be. So click on submit, and our scenario is ready. But to run it, we need a simulation. So we go here, we also click on plus sign, and we have this form. From here, we should specify name and choose seeker agent. Those are our first steps. So seeker agent, you can get a list of those by going to agents. Right from here, you see I have 2 of those. Currently, as I said earlier, those are Seeker proxies. Let's return back to simulations. And from here, you can see its host name, its IP address, and its state, active or inactive. You can create simulations for inactive Seeker agents, but you should remember that execution will be postponed until your Seeker agent will be active. So yeah, so let's proceed. I will check one of my VMs. Oops, my bad. I will check my VM if I have any of those default credentials. Next, I choose Seeker agent. I will choose this one. And then I choose scenario. I have only one. And I'm prompted to add parameters to our first action. First action is pink, and from here I need to specify which target I will be actually playing around with. So for this, I will specify my VM. So here it is. And the rest I'll leave the same. Click submit. From here, we also have invert scenario result option. So you will see why it can be helpful. And last but not least, we have scheduling. So also one of the ideas behind Seeker is that you can run your checks constantly and in automated way. And for this, you can enable scheduling. If you enable it, you can see you can choose time, how often you would like to repeat it. And for example, I want my checks to be performed only on weekdays. I don't want to do anything during weekends. So all good. And I can click submit. And you see that my simulation is created. And I can run it. I can either wait for this period, or I can click on start and see how it will be going. So you see now the state change in progress, and now we should wait until we get the results. But we can click on details, and we will be seeing those updates live, like what is going on. As you can see, now we are on pink stage. Let's see. After pink will be performed, and if pink will be successful, we will proceed to the rest of the actions. But I suggest that we can not wait. We can omit waiting because, as you know, brute forcing is kind of tedious job in terms of time. And I will show you how it looks. Absolutely the same scenario. Here it is. So after you run it, you will receive your results. You can click on show results to each of the actions and see what exactly was found or was not found. So ping was successful. Next port scan as well, we found the port that we were searching for. And, and I'm sorry, if we move to brute force SSH, you will see that unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we didn't find anything from here. We didn't find that any of those default credentials are in use. So you may notice that, in fact, our scenario failed because we wasn't able to find any of those default credentials. You see that this part is in red, but the overall status of the scenario is success. This is because we have inverted results of the scenario. So this is needed for your easier navigation. So the goal of the seeker, you see, is to find any of weak points that you might have in your environment. But your goal as an engineer is to make sure that that you don't find any of those weak points. And for this, you can use this this inverse scenario feature. So let's summarize by this part, this case that we have. So why would you need it? Default credentials, you know, they are widely known, and by having them in your network, you are just bringing it's almost New Year, so you're providing New Year or Christmas present to the attacker by giving such a simple way to get access to your host. So, and it brings you to the high risk of unauthorized access. And plus, of course, we are dealing not only from, you know, a technical perspective of cybersecurity, but also from, you know, perspective of standards, of policies, and etc. And one of parts of, for example, PCI DSS is that you do not use those default credentials. So you can also use it for making sure that you are compliant with the parts of the standards that you actually want to be qualified for. Okay, I suggest that we try one more case. I will return back to our environment. You see that our brute force is still in progress. As I said earlier, not an easy task in terms of time. And we will try one more case, which will be searching for web server misconfiguration. let's do it. For this, I will be also uploading a payload. In here, I have list of directories, such default directories like my PHP admin or uploads. So something that can be a note that your web server is misconfigured, and I can get there and retrieve some data that will be useful for my further attack. Here it is. Our step of actions, in terms of configuring SEEKER, will be absolutely the same. So we got our payloads. Next, we will create scenario, and then we will proceed with simulation. So name, check for web server misconfig. And next we have actions. So we will start with DNS. So let's this time play around with DNS. I will ping it. I will leave it as it is. Submit. Next, I will do a DNS query. I will query for labyrinth.tech. Target I leave empty because it will be overridden by previous section. Next, we will retrieve those IP address from DNS query, and we will proceed with the port scan because we want to make sure that our ports that we need for web, they are present. Some of the examples, and last but not least, we will be doing a web scan. So from here, I need list of directories. You can read from here. And target, I leave as it is. I click submit, and it's ready. So you see, it's extremely fast to configure. So we did a configuration in a couple of, I believe, minutes. And next we will do a simulation. So our simulation name, or labyrinth.tech. Let's leave it as it is. Next, I choose SEEKER agent, who will be performing this action, and scenario. Okay, this one. Because we will be searching for DNS server, I will put something like that. Click submit. I will invert scenario results. I will schedule. And I will leave this, or maybe let's have it quickly on these days. Click submit. And it's ready. And we can either wait or we can start it anytime. So also to omit waiting, we will go back to already process scenario. And if we click on details, you will see that DNS query was successful, port scan as well, but web scan, we didn't find anything, so that's good for us. So also to summarize this case, so from here, using this case, you can check for unprotected directories that you may unintentionally left on your web server. Sometimes it happens, we all humans, that's fine. We can check for also presence of those default directories. They may not be secured enough. That have configuration here, that have some private data that shouldn't be exposed. Also, it's about permission issues, and plus using this approach, for example, we are thinking in a way of how an attacker will think. So we will be also searching for some hidden directories that are, for example, not indexed by browser or such scenarios. So what else can be performed from here? What examples I also have? From here, if we click on details, you see that I have a host and I'm doing an SMB sign-in check. So, so SMB signing, it's really important if we don't want to deal with any kind of relay attacks like SMB relay or etc. And I'm checking the whole subnet. I'm searching for this port. You see that I found some host, one actually, and I checked for it. And as you can see, message signing is enabled, but not required. And from Seeker perspective, it's success, because if it's not required, that then, for attacker, it doesn't mean if it's enabled, if it's not enforced. So we found it, and you know that you need to go and check for that as well. It's also part of the compliance, and you have to make sure that you don't have anything like that in your network. But you see, Seeker doesn't require you to have complex scenarios. I mean, scenarios with multiple actions. It can be also one simple action, one simple check that you can regularly do. For example, I have an extremely simple case where I'm checking if LABYRINTH is available. So I'm just sending HTTP request and checking what I will have in return. So this is also an example of what can be performed. So yeah, the whole list of actions that can be done. It's available right in your appliance. You can check it. Using those bricks, you can build plenty of the other scenarios. And if you are really interested in knowing more about Seeker, please contact us at info@labyrinth.tech or via our website, and we would be more than glad to answer or even provide more examples or more dedicated demo. So thank you, and I will return back to Pawel. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much to all of you for attending our webinar today. I would like to send my private thanks also to all of you who are asking me to smile. I'm still able to smile, so thank you very much for reminding me that. I was just serious so much because the new feature is so serious that I wanted to keep my face very strong. Thank you very much. So, guys, I really encourage you to test our new version. We are open also to provide extensions of that. It's a first edition of Seeker. Contact us at info@labyrinth.tech or directly if you already work with us. And I hope we see you soon at the spring webinar where we will speak about new features of the spring edition of the new Labyrinth platform deception version. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Have a good Santa Claus Day. Bye-bye.